Hello, everyone. Welcome to a surprising episode of College Football Time with Avry Miguel. I am Avry. This is my partner. I'm Miguel. This is my partner, Avry. I'm not editing this because I want to make sure that we'll make mistakes. So yeah, I'm not perfect. Um, but it's Tuesday. Usually, we put out videos for Saturday, but we're gonna do more than one. So, and we just have to cover on this game is the Pinstripe Bowl, Syracuse versus Minnesota. Avry, both teams, they started off the season hot, then they collapsed, and then they came back up again. They both went 5-2 at home, but they struggle on the road. Both teams, especially Minnesota, have a good defense. I feel that, the last time that these two teams faced up were in the 2013 Texas Bowl, which I believe Minnesota won 21-17. But this is interesting because it's at Yankee Stadium, 2 p.m. Eastern time. Looking forward to that. But I feel that this game will be competitive. I have Minnesota 25-21. I want Syracuse to win, but I think that Minnesota will have the edge on this game. I could be wrong, but I do feel that Schrader, he's going to have to give up the ball much more quicker because he's going up against a really good defense. So what do you say, Avery?
I agree with you, Miguel. Both teams started very hot this season. Syracuse started with 6 straight wins. Minnesota started with 4 straight wins. They had, a 5-game losing streak for Syracuse, and then a 3-game losing streak for Minnesota. They started off very strong, looking to be good contenders in the ACC, as well as their conferences, but for some reason they just couldn't get it together. I think being banged up kind of hurt Syracuse a lot. Schrader was injured, so that kind of stopped the ball rolling for Syracuse at least a bit. But Minnesota, their games they lost were actually pretty close, except for I think the game against Notre Dame was a bit of a blowout. But they also lost a close game against Iowa that Minnesota did, but they finished strong with a win against Wisconsin. And Syracuse, they were looking so hot at the beginning of the season, especially, probably giving Florida State a run for their money, being in the talk, to top the conference, even against Miami. But those losses just kind of hurt them a bit, but they did finish strong with winning against Boston College at Boston College. And like you said, both teams struggled on the road, but they figured out ways to win. They put it together and got it. They put up about the same amount of points, 28. Minnesota doesn't allow that many points. They only allow 13. And I think that's going to be the strong point. Like you said, Minnesota's defense, especially against the rush, is very strong. They only give up about 100 yards a game. So I see Syracuse starting off strong. Like you said, they are playing in Yankee Stadium, which I think is very cool. When these baseball stadiums, kind of old stadiums, kind of like the game against Cincinnati and Louisville, where they played in Fenway, to turn it into, a football stadium. So playing at Yankee Stadium can be very exciting, especially between these two teams. So I see Syracuse starting off strong, but I think Minnesota's defense, like you said, is going to take control. I see this as being about the same score. You say the over-under is 42. They are giving the edge to Minnesota, and I'm going to agree with it. I'm going to say Minnesota 24, Syracuse 18, but I think it's going to be back and forth between both teams. I don't think anyone's going to jump out and then there's going to be a comeback. I think it's just going to be a really back and forth game, and I think it's going to be a good game, like all bowl games should be, especially in the setting of Yankee Stadium.
Minnesota, they finished 9-4 last season. they have a chance to pick up back-to-back 9 victory seasons for the first time since 1905, which is unbelievable. So Minnesota has that going on for them. But it's going to be an interesting matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Yankee Stadium, Thursday, December 29th at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully they keep it close. Hopefully they don't surprise us and give us a lopsided game. But Pinstripe Bowl, Yankee Stadium, Syracuse, Minnesota, both teams, they start off great. Hopefully this game lives up to the hype.
I agree with you, Miguel. Like I said, when you get college teams playing at iconic places, they want to prove that they belong on those big stages, especially when it comes to bowl games. And you're right, Syracuse with a 7-5, it is a bit disconcerting schedule record for them. But Minnesota, like you said, could have another duplicate 9-4 season. Their record this year, really doesn't show what they've done, but they really want to prove it. And both teams want to prove it. So I think this can be a really great game. Thursday afternoon, Yankee Stadium, they're going to bring it.
Imagine the kind of conversation we'll be having. Out of all the games that the Syracuse lost, the one game that sticks out to me that could have kept people, I would say, take them a little more serious is the game against Clemson. They had them. They really had them, and they completely collapsed in the second half.
I agree. I didn't want to bring up the Clemson loss, but you're right. Syracuse had Clemson on the ropes, and they were playing Clemson on the road. And you're right. They had everything going for them, and they just couldn't close the deal. And that was kind of the start of their free fall with those 5 straight losses. Something just broke them a bit when they couldn't win against Clemson. But you're right. They have to look back. They have to take these losses. They have to take these mistakes, turn it around, and they have to make it mean something. They have to make it meaningful. They have a lot of heart. I like college teams that have a lot of heart. You can see it every time they go out on the ball, every time, both sides of the ball. You can see it. Syracuse has it. They want to prove that in the coming years, their football program can be a winning program. Their football program can get the talent, just like your Alabamas, your Miamis, your Texas. They want to show that. And like I said, in these videos recently, the college playoff is expanding. This puts them on the map. Same thing with Minnesota. With the college playoff expanding, these records of your 7-5, your 8-4s, your 9-3s, these get you a playoff spot. And like anything, just like in college basketball, when March Madness comes around, if you have the opportunity to go to a higher seed's home and win, this gives you momentum. So in a way, even though they're playing at Yankee Stadium, it's kind of Syracuse's backyard, but not really. Western New York, Eastern New York, I get it. But Syracuse wants to prove they can do this. They showed that they can. So Minnesota's just going to be a tough opponent for them. And like I said, I hope it's going to be a great game. I don't like lopsided wins. We have seen a couple during this bowl season. But certain teams, when they show up, they show up.